YouTube? Danny Staten here on the Daily Damn Blog. Hey, I'm back with the good stuff. That's right, I'm checking out the really good stuff this week. I'm checking out Kolchak, the Night Stalker. Hey, Dave, is that the good stuff? Yeah, Kolchak and me have personal grief. You know, for the last 3 years in a row, I've tried to put up Kolchak, the Night Stalker material, like the TV show and the movies on YouTube, and got a copyright strike every time I try to do anything Night Stalker. So today I'm taking a look at number 3 of Kolchak, the Night Stalker meets Sherlock Holmes. Oh boy, Moonstone Comics. Well, I'm really kind of disappointed already because it says Kolchak meets Sherlock Holmes, and instead of Kolchak meets Sherlock Holmes, we get a giant bird in New Mexico? What? That's right, we're checking out Cry Thunder. I don't get it. It's supposed to be Sherlock Holmes and Kolchak the Night Stalker, and I get Cry Thunder. And here's the people we can blame for this horrible story. And maybe the dismal art we're about to encounter. I don't even think Thrash Pondo Pines could save this comic book. So our incredibly horribly drawn comic book starts out with Kolchak talking to the ornithologist, whatever, the bird scientist, and the bird scientist is telling him about a series of giant bird attacks in New Mexico. At first, the scientist did not believe people's stories of a giant bird, but on an expedition, he located this, a giant bird bone. And after much research and much testing, he realized that this is a bone from a giant unknown bird species. He gives Kolchak a book of all the evidence and all the stories of these giant alleged birds in New Mexico, as well as a copy of the report about the bone of unknown origin, most likely belonging to a giant unknown bird species. And if you want to see some real giant birds, check out the video I put up Sunday of this giant silver bird flying over my house and some of my other videos of the thunderbirds that fly in this area. They're pretty weird. Well, anyway, Kolchak checks out the book the doctor gave him, flashes back to stories of yesteryear, of cowboys and birds. Hey, anybody ever see that movie, Cowboys and Aliens? Well, I want y'all to think Cowboys and Aliens with giant birds instead, and you got whoever ripped something off for this comic book as the two wise men ponder. Are the birds real? They're pondering it at the funeral of old Bob, because old Bob got yanked up, ripped apart, and torn to little pieces by some giant bird. I just love comic books. It's been very little time on the main character. Like, this is a Kolchak comic book, but no. We get pages and pages of little Tommy and John's upset and grief because their dad got ripped apart by a giant bird, and we really want to see all this drama and funeral stuff, right? So in full pages, brought to you by the Daily Damn Blog, I give you Kolchak the Night Stalker. The only Kolchak the Night Stalker stuff you'll see on my channels, because every time I try to put something Kolchak the Night Stalker up, YouTube takes it down. And if you don't believe that, you can call my flock and Sarah and ask her, because she's the one texted me yesterday, hey, you know your Kolchak the Night Stalker video just got took down? Who did that to you? Yeah, thanks, Sarah, for letting me know. So you know the Kolchak look. Immediately, Kolchak heads out to the area where the sightings of the giant birds had taken place. He no sooner gets out the car to get some gas at this gas station. In the middle of the desert is a giant shadow passes over. I know that feeling. It's happened around here. A giant shadow passes over, and Kolchak gives the look of worry. Now, let me point this out at this time. This has got to be the worst drawing of Kolchak the Night Stalker I've ever seen. Who done this horrible art? Which is really weird, because if you check out the cover is probably the best drawing of Kolchak the Night Stalker I've ever seen. Holding up the cross like he's fighting vampires, which he does not do in this comic book, with Sherlock Holmes, who does not appear in this comic book. Now, I have done Kolchak the Night Stalker comic books in the past, and my biggest complaint was the cover art on these Night Stalker comic books. Check them out. It's okay. It's passable, but still not the best art on these Kolchak comic books because Kolchak comic books is all that I can get away with Kolchak. Now, if you look inside these Kolchak comic books, you'll find the inside art's a lot better than the covers. Unlike this one, where the cover's probably the best cover of all of them, but the inside art is dismal and nightmarish. All of a sudden, the shadow turned into a giant bird swooping down from nowhere as Pugsley watched on in horror as Kolchak goes one-on-one with the big bird. That's right. The big bird trying to pluck out Kolchak's eyes. It's trying to pluck off Kolchak's nose, but Kolchak ducks and dives, pulls out his bone. That's right. He's got his bird bone in his hand as he puts his hands over his hat and says, "What? Please help me. I don't understand." That is not what Kolchak would do. And at this point, the giant bird flees off into the skies. Kolchak watch it fly away. Kolchak ponders, was that one of the giant birds I've heard so much about? The birds! The birds! Fly away. It joins a pack, or a flock, I guess you would call it. Ain't that right, Sarah? You call that a flock? A flock of evil big thunderbirds. And flies off into the to the north. This little adventure reminds Kolchak of a story he read in the big book the bird doctor gave him. Native Americans worship the great thunderbirds. They are the cousins of the Native Americans, guardians of the land, and we just love exposition. And in shiny, glossy, hard-to-see pages, brought to you by Moonstone Comics, Thrash, can you save these comic books? We get cowboys and birds, that's right. Just like cowboys and aliens, except it's cowboys and birds. And cowboys do battle with the big birds. One after one, they shoot them. They flock them. Birds fall from the sky. Birds are dead. They are killing the big birds. Hey, anybody ever see that picture? Ever see that picture that goes around the internet of them cowboys holding up that dead bird? That happened the next day after that panel. That bad bird ate my daddy. Wah, 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 said the other cowboy. His daddy's gone. His daddy was eaten. His daddy was eaten by that big bird. They're going to have a funeral over here later on for that dude. Anyway, we got Big Bird. What we going to do? We're going to take a picture of it in front of the store tomorrow. And then we actually get page after page after page of these idiots arguing over who's going to get the bounty for the big bird. Because, there's a bounty for the big bird and we want the money. What is going on in this comic book? They're arguing over the big bird. They're arguing over the money for the big bird. They're arguing and fighting, and there's no Kolchak in it. I feel like screaming. Wyatt Earp here says that big bird's mine and puts a cap in Bobby Bouzoulet over here. So I guess that's going to end that argument. Bullets zip by a little Sparky over there. As the other guys lay dead in the streets, Wyatt Earp says, I'm going to have me and my boys pictures made with that big bird tomorrow. Whiskey on the house. Oh my God, look, it's Sherlock Holmes back in 1888, mentally seeing all this happens. This might be the only time Sherlock appears in the whole comic book. And I guess this will be a good time to do a shout out or two. The minute I'm done with this crap, I'm going to pick up True Cryptid Encounters Book 2 by Bigfoot Michigan Rob Carnuthel. I never can say his last name. There it is. Bigfoot Michigan Rob, I always call him. Anyway, he's got 2 books out, True Cryptid Encounters Book 1 and True Cryptid Encounters Book 2. Be sure to check them out because they got a lot better stories than the one you're hearing now. And I always do the cool shout-outs. Here's one for Dave Sunstorm and his incredible brother Steven Sunstorm, the Good Stuff Brothers, as well as my partner in crime. And you can catch us Sunday afternoon, live on our next show, coming soon to YouTube. Thrash Pondo Ponds, he saved every one of us. And be sure to check out Pat McCormick at the Golden Rage of TV. He's got some really cool new stuff out I just checked out this morning. And Carl Kolchak says, be sure to check out BK on the Air. Big Guys 45's Corey's Comedy Channel. Corey, you're almost funny. My flock is everywhere, Sarah. We love that girl. The Nostalgic Pod. Blast! And Retro Nerd Girl, Brainbenders Banners. Chrissy, we love her. AAP. Homestead, AAP for life. The, the Unapologetic Geek, and Harold the Hatter, as well as a special shout out to my friend Eric at Gypsy Road, the Paranormal Highway guy. We missed you! Kolchak decided he gonna be a look at his horrible glare. Kolchak decided he gonna be a player. He goes over to gonna head over there and visit the widow of the guy who got killed by the bird and see if he can scope up a story. Kolchak show up with some I hate this glare. Kolchak show up with some flowers. Kolchak show up trying to spark with that girl. Kolchak says, "Hey, you think you can tell me a story?" She says no and slams the door. Her brothers show up, Mo, Larry, and Curly, and they're not all happy that Kolchak be sparking it up with the widow lady of their brother. So they gonna put the whooping on Carl. Okay. I'm gonna pull my hair out now and cry like a little girl. Y'all wanna see the stupidest thing I've ever seen in a comic book? I mean, literally. I don't even know how to narrate this. It's so beeping stupid. I feel like I ought to apologize for this panel. Anyway, Kolchak's getting his butt whooped by the brothers Grimm. The brothers are taking him down and bashing him around. They find his bone. That's right, they find his bird bone. Because Carl's carrying his bird bones around inside his front pocket. And for some reason, Creepo number 1 breaks the bird bone. He broke the bird bone. And I don't know why, and they never explained it in the comic book, I swear to God, but when he broke the bird bone, giant birds appeared, all PO'd, because somebody broke their ancestor's bone, I suppose, and they attacked Mo, Larry, and Curly over there. So in full interpreting panels, brought to you by the Daddy Damn Blog, the Thunderbird shows up, saves Kolchak, and flies off into the moonlight, just like that, summoned up by his broken ancestor's bone. And the way a Kolchak story always ends, Kolchak puts out a big article about giant birds and the Antichrist and anarchists and all the horrible stuff that went on in the West, you know. The whole story, just like in one of them Night Stalker TV episodes. And in full panels, I'll show you the ending of every Night Stalker story that ever existed, which is about the only damn thing they got right in this comic book was the ending. Anyway, Kolchak and Vincenzo talk it over, and as usual, Kolchak's all upset because Vincenzo isn't going to publish the story that way. They're going to rewrite it and make Kolchak look like a goof. Make him look like it's all just been a joke. Wah, wah, wah. And it's on to another story for the worst drawn Kolchak that ever existed. That's right. The worst drawn Night Stalker that ever existed. It's going to be taking on the mob in the next exciting episode of Kolchak the Night Stalker versus Private Eyes. What? Kolchak the Night Stalker. 6 lies in Private Eyes. That might actually be a better book, really. And at least they didn't waste the back cover. You get the Phantom, you get Kolchak, you get other garbage like Duck Savage. Hey, I got some Buckaroo Banzai I might be getting to in the future, and I got a Zorro or two, but my Zorros are from 1940s. Well, that's my look at Kolchak the Night Stalker. Meet Sherlock Holmes, number 3 from 2009. You know, the one that Sherlock Holmes appears on one clip in one page, doing nothing but seeing the future. Because Sherlock Holmes could see the future, right? What a horrible This comic book makes me want to use words I shouldn't use on YouTube. You have to forgive me. So hold on for a minute. Yeah, okay, I paused it and I read it and I raved and I cussed and I screamed, and now I feel a little better. But I can't get over this. Cry Thunder, the story of giant thunderbirds in New Mexico. And they called it Sherlock Holmes meets the Night Stalker. Why couldn't they just call it Kolchak the Night Stalker, Thunderbirds or something? It don't make no sense. I'm confused. I'm ill. Check out my other Kolchak the Night Stalker comic book reviews here on YouTube. You might find them a little better than this one. Maybe. And until next time, this is Danny Staten, apologizing for not being able to show no themes, no clips, or nothing to do with TV or movie versions of this book. Because every time I do, it's a copyright strike, not a claim. I'm not even going to go into the one I got this week for 50 feet away TV clip, but whatever. Till next time, Danny Staten on the Day Dan blog telling you to be sure to like, subscribe, ring that stupid little bell, and blog over, dudes.